Welcome back to the channel, US Rare Coins News. Top 1. Imagine holding a small piece of American history in the palm of your hand. A coin that doesn't just represent money, but a moment when an entire nation paused to celebrate its identity, its struggle, and its independence. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most iconic modern US coins ever made, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar dated 1776 to 1976. This is not just a quarter. This is a symbol of freedom, heritage, and national pride, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why collectors all over the world continue to chase this remarkable coin. The story of the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter begins with America's bicentennial celebration. In 1976, the United States marked 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. It was a historic milestone, and the U.S. Mint wanted to commemorate it in a way that every American could take part in. Instead of creating a coin that would sit quietly in collections, they designed a quarter that would circulate through everyday life, passing from hand to hand, carrying the spirit of the bicentennial across the nation. For the first time in U.S. history, the design of the quarter was temporarily changed. While the familiar portrait of George Washington remained on the front, the date was replaced with a powerful dual inscription, 1776 to 1976. This instantly set the coin apart from every other Washington quarter ever minted. It wasn't just marking a year, it was connecting the birth of a nation with its 200-year journey. Turn the coin over, and the design becomes even more meaningful. Instead of the traditional eagle, the reverse features a colonial drummer, standing proudly with a victory torch surrounded by 13 stars. Each star represents one of the original 13 colonies. The drummer symbolizes the ordinary citizens who played extraordinary roles during the American Revolution. Farmers, craftsmen, and volunteers who answered the call for independence. This design captures the heartbeat of early America and turns it into metal art. What makes this coin especially fascinating is how widely it was produced and yet how deeply it is cherished. Millions were struck across multiple mints, ensuring that nearly every American encountered one at some point. Yet despite this high production, the bicentennial quarter holds a unique place in numismatic history because it represents a one-time event that will never be repeated. No other U.S. quarter will ever again bear the date 1776, 1976. Collectors are drawn to this coin for many reasons. Some are captivated by its historical importance. Others admire the bold and patriotic reverse design. Many search for examples that have survived in exceptional condition, untouched by heavy circulation. Some were struck in special compositions and finishes specifically for collectors, making them stand out even more among standard issues. Another layer of intrigue comes from the fact that bicentennial quarters were produced over multiple years leading up to 1976, yet all bear the same dual date. This has created endless fascination among collectors who study minting quality, strike sharpness, and subtle differences between issues. Over time, certain examples have proven to be exceptionally well made, elevating them far above ordinary circulation coins. As decades have passed, the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter has transformed from everyday change into a powerful collectible. It reminds people of parades, fireworks, and a nationwide celebration unlike any other. It represents unity during a time when the country paused to look back at its roots and forward to its future. That emotional connection plays a huge role in why this coin continues to attract attention in the collecting world. Now here's where things get truly exciting. While many bicentennial quarters are common, a small number of extraordinary examples have risen to legendary status at public auctions. These are coins that combine exceptional preservation, superior strike quality, and strong collector demand. When these rare specimens appear under the auction hammer, they can ignite intense bidding wars among serious collectors. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. At major coin auctions, a top-quality 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter has achieved an auction price of over $19,000, proving that even a coin once found in everyday pocket change can become a high-value historical treasure. Top 2. Today's story is about one of those overlooked pieces of American history, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1966. This coin may seem ordinary at first glance, but its background, its place in U.S. history, and its growing collector interest make it far more fascinating than most people ever imagine. The year 1966 was a moment of transition for the United States. The country was experiencing cultural change, economic pressure, and shifts in the way Americans viewed money itself. Just a year earlier, the U.S. Mint had made a historic decision that ended the long tradition of silver in circulating quarters. For decades, quarters were made with real silver, giving them intrinsic value beyond their face amount. But rising silver prices made this unsustainable, forcing the government to rethink how coins were produced. The 1966 Washington quarter was born directly out of this change, making it a key marker in modern American coinage. Unlike earlier quarters, the 1966 issue was struck using a copper-nickel-clad composition. This change wasn't just about metal, it represented a shift in trust, where the value of money relied more on the strength of the nation than the precious metal inside the coin. That alone gives the 1966 quarter a unique historical identity. It stands at the crossroads between the old silver era and the modern age of circulating coinage. The design of the 1966 Washington quarter continues the familiar and respected image of George Washington. His profile, strong and dignified, reflects leadership, sacrifice, and the birth of a nation. Washington's presence on the coin reminds us of the values that shaped the United States, even during times of change. The details of his hair, facial features, and expression reflect the craftsmanship that collectors still admire today, especially on well-preserved examples. Turning the coin over, the reverse features the heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, clutching arrows, and an olive branch. This powerful symbol represents both strength and peace, a message that resonates deeply during the mid-1960s, a period marked by global tension and domestic change. Above the eagle, the words "United States of America" stand proudly, reinforcing national identity, while the denomination below reminds us of the coin's everyday purpose. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1966 Washington quarter is that it carries no mint mark. During this period, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks from coins in an effort to discourage hoarding and speculation. This small detail adds an extra layer of intrigue for collectors today. Every 1966 quarter, regardless of where it was made, looks the same in that respect, creating a unique chapter in U.S. Mint history. While millions of these quarters were produced and circulated, condition plays a huge role in their desirability today. Most examples were heavily used in everyday transactions, picking up scratches, wear, and dull surfaces over time. Finding a 1966 Washington quarter that has survived in exceptional condition, sharp details, clean surfaces, and strong luster, is becoming increasingly difficult. These higher-quality coins are the ones that capture the attention of serious collectors. Another factor that adds appeal is the quality of the strike. Some 1966 quarters were struck with remarkable clarity, showing crisp details in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers. Coins like these stand out immediately to experienced collectors and grading professionals. Over time, certain examples have been recognized as superior survivors, elevating them far above the average circulated coin. The 1966 Washington quarter also appeals to collectors because it represents a clear dividing line in U.S. coinage history. It tells the story of economic pressure, changing materials, and the evolution of money in modern America. For many collectors, owning this coin is about more than value, it's about holding a physical reminder of a turning point that shaped the coins we still use today. As interest in modern-era coins continues to grow, the spotlight has slowly shifted toward standout examples of transitional years like 1966. Coins that were once ignored are now being closely examined, graded, and celebrated for their historical importance and rarity in top condition. This renewed attention has led to some surprising results when exceptional specimens appear on the public market. Now comes the moment that always captures everyone's attention. While most 1966 Washington quarters are worth only a modest amount, a top-quality example with outstanding preservation has reached an auction price of over $8,000, proving that even a clad quarter from the 1960s can become a highly prized collector treasure. Top 3. Today, we're uncovering the story behind the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1973. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary quarter, but the deeper you look, the more fascinating it becomes. The year 1973 sits in an interesting place in American history. The nation was experiencing economic uncertainty, rising inflation, and global changes that affected everyday life. Money was no longer just money, it was a reflection of trust, stability, and adaptation. By this time, the era of silver circulating coins was already over, and Americans had fully adjusted to clad coinage. The 1973 Washington quarter represents this modern phase of U.S. currency, a time when coins were designed for durability, mass circulation, and long-term use. The design of the 1973 Washington quarter remains rooted in tradition. On the front, the familiar profile of George Washington stands as a reminder of leadership, perseverance, and the founding principles of the United States. His portrait, first introduced on the quarter decades earlier, had become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. Even in the 1970s, Washington's presence symbolized continuity during a period of change. When you turn the coin over, the reverse displays the powerful eagle design that defined the Washington quarter for generations. The eagle's wings are spread wide, representing strength and vigilance. In its talons, it holds arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing the balance between defense and peace. This imagery felt especially meaningful during the early 1970s, a time when the United States was navigating complex global challenges. One detail that adds to the intrigue of the 1973 quarter is that it was produced at multiple mints, each contributing to the overall supply. While these coins were struck in large numbers, most were intended for everyday use. They traveled through cash registers, wallets, and vending machines, accumulating wear over time. Because of this, truly high-quality examples are far less common today than many people assume. Collectors pay close attention to condition, and this is where the 1973 Washington quarter begins to stand out. Coins that escaped heavy circulation and retained their original luster, sharp details, and clean surfaces are increasingly difficult to find. The difference between an average circulated quarter and a pristine example can be dramatic, especially when viewed under magnification. Sharp hair detail on Washington, crisp lettering, and well-defined feathers on the eagle are key features collectors look for. Another factor that adds excitement is strike quality. Some 1973 quarters were struck with exceptional clarity, while others show weaker details due to worn dies or high-speed production. Coins with strong strikes instantly attract attention in the collector market. Over time, certain examples have been identified as standout survivors, elevating their status far beyond face value. The 1973 Washington quarter also appeals to collectors because it represents everyday America. This was a coin people used during a decade of cultural change, technological growth, and economic adjustment. It's a tangible reminder of grocery store purchases, road trips, and daily life in the 1970s. That sense of nostalgia adds emotional value, which often plays a powerful role in collecting. As interest in modern U.S. coinage continues to grow, collectors are no longer focusing only on silver or gold. Attention has shifted toward exceptional examples of clad coins, especially those from earlier decades. Coins once dismissed as common are now being carefully examined, graded, and appreciated for their rarity in top condition. The 1973 Washington quarter fits perfectly into this trend. When a coin combines historical context, strong design, and outstanding preservation, it can create surprising results in the collector market. And that brings us to the part everyone waits for. While most 1973 Washington quarters are still worth face value, a superbly preserved example has achieved an auction price of over $6,000, proving that even a modern-era quarter can become a remarkable collector treasure. Top 4. Today, we're diving deep into one such coin that millions of Americans have held in their hands without realizing its potential significance, the Washington quarter dollar dated 1974. At first glance, it looks like just another quarter from everyday change, but once you understand its background, hidden varieties, and collector demand, you'll see why this coin continues to spark excitement in the numismatic world. The Washington quarter has been a cornerstone of U.S. coinage since 1932, created to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. By 1974, the coin had already undergone important changes. Silver was no longer used in regular circulation quarters, and the nation had transitioned fully to copper-nickel-clad coinage. This shift marked a new era in American money, reflecting rising metal prices and changing economic priorities. The 1974 Washington quarter belongs to this modern period, yet it still carries the weight of American tradition and history. The obverse of the coin features the familiar profile of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. His calm yet determined expression symbolizes leadership, resilience, and unity. Surrounding his portrait are the words, "Liberty," and, "In God We Trust," powerful phrases that echo the values upon which the nation was built. Beneath Washington's profile rests the date 1974, a year that places this coin firmly in a time of economic adjustment, inflation concerns, and global change. Turn the coin over, and you're greeted by the majestic American eagle, wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches. This design represents both strength and peace, America's readiness to defend itself while striving for harmony. For collectors, the sharpness of this eagle's feathers, the clarity of the lettering, and the overall strike quality play a huge role in determining the coin's desirability. Most 1974 quarters were heavily circulated, passed from hand to hand through grocery stores, gas stations, and vending machines. Because of this, finding one today with crisp details, strong luster, and minimal wear is far more difficult than many people realize. Coins that survived untouched, especially those pulled directly from mint sets or carefully stored, are the ones that capture serious collector attention. What truly elevates the 1974 Washington quarter is the existence of special varieties and striking differences. Coins minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco each have their own characteristics. Some examples show exceptionally sharp strikes, while others may display unusual minting quirks. Proof versions, struck specifically for collectors, feature mirror-like fields and frosted designs that stand apart from regular circulation coins. These high-quality examples are where the real excitement begins. Collectors evaluate these quarters under magnification, searching for flawless surfaces, bold details, and original mint luster. Even the tiniest imperfection can dramatically affect value, while near-perfect examples can command intense competition at auction. What looks like pocket change to one person may be a prized treasure to another. Now let's shift our focus to another seemingly ordinary coin that hides one of the most fascinating stories in modern U.S. coinage, the 1982 United States 1-cent coin. This penny may be small, but its story is massive, and it represents a turning point in American monetary history. The year 1982 was unlike any other for the Lincoln cent. Rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to make a dramatic change. For decades, pennies had been composed primarily of copper, but in 1982, the Mint transitioned to a zinc core with a thin copper coating. What makes this year so special is that both compositions were produced in the same year, creating multiple varieties that collectors still hunt for today. The obverse of the 1982 penny features Abraham Lincoln, a design first introduced in 1909 to commemorate his 100th birthday. Lincoln's portrait symbolizes unity, perseverance, and freedom. His presence on the penny connects everyday Americans to the nation's past, reminding us of leadership during times of great challenge. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial stands tall, representing national remembrance and respect. In well-preserved examples, the fine lines of the memorial and the tiny details between the columns remain sharp and defined. These details are critical when evaluating condition and collector appeal. What truly sets the 1982 penny apart is the complexity of its varieties. Differences in date size, metal composition, and strike characteristics have turned this humble cent into one of the most studied coins in modern U.S. numismatics. Collectors carefully weigh these coins, examine the shape of the numbers in the date, and look for subtle differences that separate common examples from highly desirable ones. Because pennies are often ignored and heavily used, finding a pristine 1982 cent is far more challenging than it might seem. Many were damaged, scratched, or corroded over time. Coins that escaped circulation and remained untouched are increasingly scarce, especially those with unique characteristics or unusual compositions. Error coins from this year are particularly legendary among collectors. Some examples were struck on the wrong metal planchets, while others show striking anomalies that make them stand out instantly. These mistakes, created unintentionally during the minting process, transform an everyday penny into a historic artifact. Collectors value these coins not just for their rarity, but for what they represent, a moment when American coinage changed forever. The 1982 penny tells the story of economics, metal markets, and adaptation, all wrapped into a single cent-sized piece of history. Now, here's the part everyone waits for, the moment where curiosity meets reality. At major coin auctions, exceptional examples of the 1974 Washington quarter, particularly top-grade proof issues and perfectly preserved specimens, have reached auction prices in the thousands of dollars, with elite examples commanding intense bidding competition. Even more astonishing, rare varieties and confirmed error examples of the 1982 1-cent coin have achieved record-breaking auction prices, with some selling for well over $10,000, and select historic pieces reaching beyond $18,000 at public auction. Top 5. Today's story is about one such coin from everyday American life, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar dated 1977. A coin that once paid for snacks, phone calls, and bus rides now carries a growing sense of curiosity, mystery, and collector interest. The Washington quarter has been part of American identity for generations. By the time 1977 arrived, this coin was already deeply woven into daily life. The nation itself was going through a period of adjustment. The excitement of the space race had settled, inflation was a constant topic of conversation, and Americans were adapting to new economic realities. Through it all, the quarter remained steady and familiar, a small symbol of continuity during uncertain times. On the front of the 1977 Washington quarter is the iconic profile of George Washington. His portrait is calm and firm, projecting leadership without extravagance. Designed decades earlier, this image was meant to reflect dignity rather than royalty. Above his head appears the word liberty, a concept that defines the American spirit. Nearby, the phrase "In God We Trust" reinforces the values the nation holds close. Below Washington's portrait, the date 1977 quietly marks the moment this coin entered the world. Turning the coin over reveals the powerful image of the bald eagle. Its wings are spread wide, suggesting strength and protection. In its talons, the eagle holds arrows and olive branches, symbolizing readiness for defense balanced with the desire for peace. This design reflects America's identity on the global stage and gives the quarter a sense of purpose beyond its monetary value. When these quarters were first released, they were produced in large numbers. Millions entered circulation, and most experienced years of heavy use. They clinked against other coins, slid across counters, and sat in pockets and purses. Over time, this everyday handling softened details, dulled surfaces, and left marks that are now visible on most surviving examples. This is where collector interest begins to grow. Coins from 1977 that managed to escape heavy circulation are far more difficult to find today. Some were set aside in mint sets. Others were stored away and forgotten. These coins often retain sharper details, brighter surfaces, and a level of visual appeal that instantly sets them apart. Collectors examine these quarters closely, paying attention to the sharpness of Washington's hair, the clarity of the lettering, and the strength of the eagle's feathers. Even slight differences in strike quality can influence desirability. Proof versions of the 1977 quarter, struck specifically for collectors, display mirror-like fields and frosted designs that elevate them into a different category altogether. What makes this coin particularly interesting is how ordinary it appears. Many people still encounter 1977 quarters in change without giving them a second thought. Yet to collectors, condition is everything. A well-preserved example becomes a snapshot of American life frozen in time, untouched by decades of circulation. The growing interest in modern-era coins has also played a role in increasing attention toward pieces like this. As collectors look beyond older silver coins, they are beginning to appreciate the historical context and scarcity of high-grade examples from the copper-nickel era. The 1977 Washington quarter fits perfectly into this trend. Each of these coins carries a silent journey. It may have traveled across states, passed through countless hands, or sat untouched in a drawer for decades. That journey adds character and intrigue, turning a simple quarter into a tangible piece of history. Now comes the moment that surprises many people. When exceptional examples of the 1977 Washington quarter dollar appear at major coin auctions, particularly those in pristine condition or special proof formats, they have achieved auction prices described in words as reaching into the thousands of dollars, with the finest known specimens commanding even higher amounts under intense bidding. So the next time you spot a quarter dated 1977, pause for just a second. What looks like ordinary change may carry a story, a legacy, and a value far greater than its face suggests. That if you enjoy uncovering hidden stories behind everyday coins, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. History is often closer than we think, sometimes resting quietly in the palm of your hand.